Well, hello again from the Granite State. My name is Gary, and this is the Restoring Main Street podcast. As always, I'd like to thank you for joining me. Well, it's been a week. Hope all of you are doing well. Hope you're all safe and sound, and have just had an enjoyable time over this last week. Maybe spent some time with friends and family, and made some memories. Those are good things. That's what we should be doing. Podcast tonight. I have what I would consider a pretty simple question, and I'm hoping that it makes sense to all of you. It certainly makes sense to me. Can you read the sky? That may seem, a bit obscure when I first say that, but if I put it in context, are you aware of your surroundings? Do you see what's happening right now around you? Locally, nationally, globally. Do you see those things? Can you read the sky? So that's my question, and rather than give a long lead-in, I think we're going to get straight to starting the program so I can explain things maybe a little better. And there we go. So, what do I mean? I just, lately I've been getting a sense of just looking around me, and although it seems like, we're definitely coming out of the whole COVID thing, lockdowns and mandates are starting to fall by the wayside. Things are changing in that respect, I think, for the positive. But I still have this feeling, and I can't seem to shake it. And I'm wondering if you do too. If just looking around and recognizing after 2 years the things that have changed, asking the question, besides, the virus and what that did, why did some of these things change? And are you aware of them? Does it make you think about other things and, just, have some overall concerns? And I'd like to try to illustrate this in, what I think is a very down-to-earth way, but it, excuse me, but it made perfect sense to me. So, let me share this with you. And this is a screenshot from the Bible, from Matthew 16. And it's the New King James Version. And I'm specifically looking at verses 1 through 6. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees here are looking for a sign. They want some type of proof that Jesus is who he says he is, and therefore basically a sign of the times. So what it says here in Matthew 16, 1 through 3, it says, "Then the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and testing him, asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. And he answered and said to them, When it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites! You know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. And I don't share a lot of Bible verse, even though I feel I have a strong belief. Maybe that turns some people off. I'm praying it doesn't. I'm hoping it doesn't, because honestly, I know with what I share, it's of good intention, good hopes and prayers for those around me, and I'd like to use it as a way of illustration. I'd like to think I'm in good company. Our founding fathers did the same thing. Most of what the structure of our government, the Constitution, all of those things, figuring out how they were going to lay out the country. A lot of it was based in Bible principle, and for very good reason. Man is fallible. Man will always be fallible. Redeemable through Christ, but still fallible. We all have our faults. So here in this Bible verse, the Sadducees and Pharisees are asking, show us that you're the Christ. Do some type of miracle. Show us a sign. And Jesus responds with, a beyond adequate response to these people. You can look up in the sky, and you can tell by the way the sky looks. You know what kind of weather is coming. So you're telling me you can't discern the times by what you see here now. And for me, that's an illustration of what's happening at the moment. Do you have your eyes wide open? Are you looking at the changes that are happening around you? Are you looking at the things that are being implemented in government policy, in actions by this administration? Does any of that cause you for concern? Do you look around the world and see what's to me appeared to be a position of strength for the most part a year ago has dissolved into something completely different? And with everything that's going on with Russia and the Ukraine, and the CCP looking at Taiwan, all of those things, it should give you cause for concern, even if you're someone that supports this administration and maybe a lot of what they're doing. Still, you should have a feeling that something's not right. And I'm praying that you can see those things. So with that in mind, because I don't have a crystal ball, because I'm not pretending to be something I'm not, but because I have these concerns, I guess I wanted to just share some information and stuff with you that I believe I had shared in a previous podcast months and months ago to a certain degree, but I just felt right now at this time, it just felt like something I should try and share again. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about being prepared. Being prepared if for some strange and unusual reason, we hear talks of cyber attacks on our electrical grid, that would affect our banking system, would affect your normal routine of every day. And if you look at our adversaries, those that do not have the best interests of the United States at heart, your Russias, your CCPs, China, the government, not the people, the government. Being prepared in case something catastrophic happens, even if it's a short period of time, to me is very important. Excuse me. Years ago, my family would can. You'd put stuff up on a shelf that you would can at home, vegetables and things that you've grown and different things, and that was your way of preparing. But, in light of what's going on with today, I think a lot of that preparation goes a little bit deeper than that. So all I wanted to do was just share some quick ideas with you and things to think about, and I just think they're useful. And I pray that you have the same feeling. So what am I talking about as far as preparation? At first, I think about if means to cash or the use of credit cards went away, are you prepared? My suggestion, or it's just, to me, common sense and, pretty basic, is do you have some cash at home? Something stashed away, something like I said, if ATM machines went down, if we had issues there, do you have some cash at home? That's just a good backup plan, something to keep in mind, and the other thing, if you have access to this, if you've been buying it over the last few years, having something else, an alternative to cash. I know a lot of people, because it's inexpensive but still has value, is silver. Having some silver on hand. And the other idea when I'm thinking about, long term, and I guess in this case I'm thinking about, if things are really bad, not a bad idea to have some items on hand, a supply of them that you might be able to barter with. And I'm thinking of niceties, things that people want, almost, catering to all of our vices. For those of you that smoke, I'm thinking about, cartons of cigarettes to barter with, or alcohol. And I know, like I'm hearing the words come out of my mouth, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, boy, this is kind of extreme. And I'm not trying to be extreme. That's not my goal here. My goal is that I just have something gnawing in the back of my mind that just makes me uneasy right now. So that's why I make these suggestions. So having cash on hand or something to barter with, or, silver, if you have something, have that on hand, is just something to think about. I think about food and water supply. Do you have enough food, if need be, non-perishables, and water to at least, last for a couple of weeks? If you didn't have access to that, if you have enough for a month, that's even better. These folks are not a sponsor in any way, but I know the quality of their product. I know many people that have purchased these items because a lot of us don't can anymore, but this is an alternative. This is My Patriot Supply. They call it survival food, but it's an upgrade from is it MREs? I probably got that wrong. And it has a 25-year shelf life. So it's just something to think about. Food and water, that's just another way to be prepared. Fuel. That's the other thing that comes to mind. Do you have, if you're using, oil or kerosene or whatever it is that you're using, or maybe you burn a little wood like I do, do you have enough of that on hand? I would assume most of us here in New England have enough of that on hand because we are in the, still in the midst of winter. So we're usually all over that. But the other thought is extra gas. If for some reason there was, a mass power outage and it was going to last more than a day or two, do you have some gas cans on hand and your tank filled up for your vehicle, but in case you needed to refill it, if for some reason, because you've made trips out or need to make trips out. Do you have some extra gas on hand? Something else to think about. And I guess with the scenario that I'm thinking of, and I'm thinking in the manner of extremes. And like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. I just would like to see all of you and prepared. And I'm hoping you understand this. Protection is the next thing that comes to mind. Do you own firearms? Do you have ammo? Have you done some practicing? Members of the family that would use a firearm? Are you comfortable? Do you need to take some time and spend a little time doing that, practicing? There's plenty of other options out there if you don't have a firearm. I mean, you can, certainly go pretty basic as far as, the good old baseball bat or whatever. But if you have firearms, if you feel comfortable using firearms, that's the next question, I guess, in the idea of protection. And then the last thing that I wanted to just share is having a plan. And I know these things are not enjoyable things to talk about or think about. But having concern for our family, like I said, being able to, like the beginning of the podcast suggests, read the sky. Being prepared is an important thing. So having a plan, if for some reason you're home and it becomes a volatile situation, that there are individuals or multiple individuals trying to get in your home or something of that nature, and for some reason you have the time or the ability to leave safely instead of staying there if need be. Do you have a plan for that? Do you have a bug out plan? Do you have bug out bags? Something, equipped with clothing and non-perishable food, that type of thing. Some first aid materials, things like that. Water, Gatorade, things that will keep you hydrated. And if you had to leave your home for some reason, which is the extreme, because you felt threatened, do you have a plan for that? And if you do have a plan for that, one of the other things to think about too, pray this would never happen to you, but you should have a plan for a rallying place too, a ways away from your home. If for some reason things became so chaotic and you got separated, you should have a rally place where all of you can meet. If you're not together, to go to this rally place, to know that everybody is safe, everybody is fine. And then, keep in mind communications too. Like I said, if a power grid went down, you'd probably lose the ability at some point, with the towers and everything else, if it was severe, to actually, use a cell phone. There are some very small pocket size walkie-talkies, having a brain cramp, that you can actually put in that bug out bag as well, so that you have a form of communication. Obviously, you're not talking about cross country, but if you want to stay in touch, with family, and if for some reason you get separated, if you go to your rally point and somebody's not there, a form of communication to find out possibly what's going on would be something else to consider. And like I said, I know all of this is pretty serious. I try not to. I just try to share information. I try to share with you things that concern me, that I think about, that I think are worthy of discussing. So this week, after just the last couple of weeks and things that are going on, it just it was a little voice in the back of my head that kept bugging me. So I wanted to share, like I said, what I consider a very simple message, but a very important point. So again, like I said, I in exiting this part of it, the podcast, I ask you, can you read the sky? Are you aware? Can you see what's going on? And I ask you, out of an abundance of concern, please, if you're not prepared right now, don't wait. Do something this week, before the end of the week. Take care of some of these things, If you don't have survival food or something that would sustain you for at least a couple of weeks, please go to My Patriot Supply and consider taking a look at that and purchasing some of that for your home. Get enough water in your home so you have enough for a couple of weeks to a month. Please do some of these things, and I urge you, like I said, out of an abundance of concern and a need to know that friends and family and people out there that listen, that if something extreme does happen, that you're prepared. So that's the message for this week. That's what I was looking to share with you, and I pray that makes sense, and you're able to hear what it is I'm trying to share with you. Accept my message and understand where it's coming from. Okay. I'd like to remind you of a couple things, as I always do each podcast. Now, my good friend Gene Valley is getting a little bit better with the COVID, but like I said, Coffee News Rochester is one of the biggest supporters of Restoring Main Street. He shares my podcast link every week. So I would ask at this point, please continue to pray for my friend Gene, that he completely recovers from this COVID mess of his. He's getting through it. So I at least got that word from him, and I just pray things would finish up and he would get back to health. But check out Coffee News Rochester if you're in the area, and take a look at all the things that he posts there. That anything that is Rochester that's happening, you will find at Coffee News Rochester. And as I have been the last month or two here, my good friends at metalheads.com, please go and check out their website. Or if you're a local here in the area near Rochester, go check out their shop at the Lilac Mall here in Rochester. If you're a headbanger and you want to find the t-shirt of that band that you've always loved, or maybe things are getting a little bit worn, you've hung on to concert tees for so long now that they're turning into rags for cleaning up, if you have a garage or the shop or a dirty window or something, and you need to replace those things. Go visit my friends at metalheadsrock.com. They get everything from t-shirts to sweatshirts to, like I was talking about last week, they have a Boston Bruins electric guitar, and I noticed some Red Sox drumsticks. So they've got, coffee mugs, jewelry, all kinds of things. Like I've talked about before, my metal wall hangings in back of me there, my company logo and the 1776 tattered flag back there. Those were all wall hangings made by my friends at metalheadsrock.com. So please go check them out. You will not be disappointed. They're a fantastic group of people. And if you do go in, mention to them that Gary from Restoring Main Street sent you. So, and we get to the end of things here, and I like to remind you, like I said, you can find the Restoring Main Street podcast. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Rumble. You can find me on Gab TV and BitChute. Honestly, because I like the idea of free speech, I would like to hear from you. If you would reach out on my Restoring Main Street page on Facebook, if you would let me know that you've made the transition over to Rumble instead of YouTube, and I say that Rumble or Gab TV to watch this podcast, because they're free speech platforms. You don't have to worry about being censored no matter what you're talking about and what you're sharing. I fully believe one of these days I am going to produce a YouTube or a podcast and post it to YouTube, and it's going to get flagged or it's going to get pulled down for some reason. So I would love to see people migrate over to some of these other platforms where you don't have to worry about censorship, where you can share your mind and your thoughts, where it's an open forum. More voices, not less, has always been what America is about. So please, you can still check me out at YouTube, but I would prefer that you would go over to Rumble and Gab and or even to BitChute and subscribe, become a follower, hit the notifications button, write a review. Whatever is pertinent, hit the like button. Whatever is pertinent on the platform that you're viewing this on, please support us. All of that just helps to boost the program, tickle the algorithms so that, we get some more views or sharing to other individuals on those platforms. And if you don't want to look at this, which I get that, you can just get the audio portion of things, and you can find me on Anchor FM, Breaker, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and the big one up there with my friend Joe Rogan on Spotify, and you can find me there. Also, beginning of the podcast, as you note, the quick plug for my poetry book, The North Country Chronicles, Poetry and Prose from the Granite State. You can find that at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. If you would like to support me in that way, that would be great. And just one more thing I'd like to add at the end of this podcast before I wrap things up. I've been doing the Metalheads live read for their store and their web page now for a little bit. And honestly, with the other program that I'm going to try to start doing on a regular basis besides this one in this format is the Locals podcast, which tries to support local businesses and things of that nature to boost just the community, the sharing, all things local. So if you have a business and you'd like to reach out to me on my Restoring Main Street page, if you'd like me to do a live read for your business, you can certainly do that. And with the Locals as a way to benefit the community, I will probably attempt to start doing a couple of quick live read ads during the podcast, during the Locals, and one of which I will do for free at some point in order to generate what I need to maybe do a lot more of these at some point. It may become something that I'm looking to get compensated for, but that's once I grow a much larger community. But right now, and no matter what happens in the future, I will each week during the Locals podcast do one of my live reads will be free to that particular business for that week, and that's just my way of giving back to my town and to my local businesses. And but for right now, they'll all be free, until I get enough of a following here so it makes sense for people to consider sponsoring me. Anybody that reaches out, if you'd like me to do a live read for your business, please reach out on the Restoring Main Street page, and we can talk about things and see if we can start changing it up. I like my friends at metalheadsrock.com. Like I said, that's a freebie for them. I do that because I know them, but I want to do the same thing for some other local businesses to try to just share and get some support for all of them, because that's one of the big things that Restoring Main Street likes to get behind, like I like to get behind, is shoring up the local community. So, all right then. And like I always leave you is a way to just some food for thought. And I do that by suggesting the idea of God, freedom, and family. Because if we lose the first two, our families are truly doomed. So, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. I appreciate it so much. And like I said, share, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, all those things. If you would help support this program, we could help it grow. And that's just my intent. So, thank you again for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, God bless.